Our planet, this beautiful blue sphere, teems with an astonishing variety of life. From the smallest insect to the largest whale, each creature plays a part in the intricate web of existence. For millions of years, these diverse life forms have evolved, adapted, and flourished, creating ecosystems of breathtaking complexity and beauty. Think of the vibrant coral reefs, bustling with colorful fish. Imagine the vast savannas, home to herds of majestic animals. Consider the dense rainforests, echoing with the calls of unseen creatures. This biodiversity is not just wonderful to behold, it is essential for the health of our world and indeed for our own survival. It provides us with clean air, fresh water, food, and so much more. Yet this rich tapestry of life is facing unprecedented challenges. Human activities, from changing landscapes to altering the climate, are putting immense pressure on wild animal populations across the globe. Some species, once common, are now becoming rare. Others are finding their homes shrinking, their food sources dwindling. The delicate balance of nature is being disturbed at an alarming rate. We are witnessing changes that would normally take thousands of years, happening within a single human lifetime. This is a matter of great concern, not just for the animals themselves, but for the entire planet and for future generations who deserve to inherit a world as rich and diverse as the one we know. To understand the scale of this challenge and to effectively protect these precious creatures, we need a way to measure their situation. We need to know which animals are thriving, which are struggling, and which are in grave danger. This is where the concept of categorizing wild animals based on their conservation status comes into play. It is a scientific system, a tool that helps us to assess the risk of extinction for different species. It provides a common language for conservationists, scientists, and governments worldwide. This system allows us to prioritize our efforts, to channel resources where they are most needed, and to track the success or failure of our conservation actions. Imagine a doctor assessing a patient's health. They use various tests and observations to understand the patient's condition and to decide on the best course of treatment. In a similar way, conservation scientists assess the health of animal populations. They gather data, analyze trends, and then assign a status, a category that reflects how well a species is doing. This process is vital. It helps us to move beyond general concern and to take targeted, informed action. It is the first step towards ensuring that the wonders of the natural world can continue to inspire and sustain us for many, many years to come. It is a responsibility we all share. To navigate the complex world of wildlife conservation, a clear system of classification is absolutely essential. This system uses specific categories to tell us about the health and survival prospects of different animal species. These categories range from species that are, sadly, no longer with us to those whose populations are currently stable and widespread. Understanding these labels is key to appreciating the conservation efforts underway around the world. They are not just arbitrary names, they are the result of careful scientific assessment and provide a vital snapshot of a species' current predicament. These categories act as a global standard, helping everyone speak the same language when discussing the urgency of protecting our planet's biodiversity. The main categories paint a picture from dire to secure. At one end, we have extinct, a stark reminder of what we have lost. Then there is extinct in the wild, where a species only survives because humans are caring for it in places like zoos or special reserves, away from its natural home. The threatened categories are particularly crucial for conservation action. This broad term encompasses 3 levels of increasing risk: vulnerable, endangered, and critically endangered. Each of these indicates that a species is facing a significant threat of disappearing from the wild. Beyond these, we have near threatened for species that are close to facing serious risks, and least concern for those that are currently doing relatively well. The purpose of these categories is fundamentally about guiding action. They help conservationists, scientists, and governments to identify which species are in most urgent need of help. Resources for conservation are often limited, so it is vital to direct them where they can make the biggest difference. A species labeled as critically endangered will likely receive more immediate attention and funding for recovery programs than one categorized as least concern. These labels also help to raise public awareness. When people understand that an animal they love is endangered, they are often more motivated to support efforts to protect it. This shared understanding is crucial for building support for conservation initiatives. In simple terms, these labels are like warning signs. Least concern might be a green light suggesting things are okay for now, but still requiring us to be watchful. Near threatened is like an amber light, a caution that problems may be developing. Vulnerable, endangered, and critically endangered are increasingly urgent red lights, signaling immediate danger and the need for swift intervention. And extinct is the light that has gone out, a permanent loss. By understanding this language of concern, we can all play a more informed role in the global effort to safeguard the incredible diversity of life on Earth, ensuring its survival for generations yet to come. The category extinct is the most solemn and irreversible in the language of conservation. When a species is declared extinct, it means that, after exhaustive surveys in its known and expected habitats, at appropriate times there is no reasonable doubt that the last individual has died. This is not a declaration made lightly. It signifies a permanent loss from the Earth's rich biodiversity, a unique life form vanished forever. The dodo, the passenger pigeon, the Tasmanian tiger. These names resonate with a sense of sorrow, reminding us of the fragility of life and the profound impact human actions can have on the natural world. Each extinction is a tear in the fabric of life, a note of silence in the symphony of nature. Closely related is the category extinct in the wild. This designation is given to species that now only survive in cultivation, in captivity, or as a naturalized population well outside their past native range. While the species itself still exists, it no longer plays its role in its natural ecosystem. It is a lifeline, a fragile thread of hope that one day perhaps these species might be reintroduced to their ancestral homes if those homes can be restored and made safe. Examples like the Père David's deer or the Socorro dove fall into this category, living reminders of their wild relatives that are no more entirely dependent on human care for their continued existence. The process of declaring a species extinct is rigorous and carefully considered. Scientists and conservation organizations, like the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, conduct extensive searches and gather all available evidence. This can take many years, even decades. Sometimes a species thought to be extinct is rediscovered, a joyful event known as a Lazarus taxon. However, such occurrences are rare. More often, the silence persists and the sad conclusion must be drawn. This careful approach ensures that the extinct label is accurate, reflecting a true and final disappearance from our planet, a void that can never truly be filled. The finality of extinction underscores the critical importance of conservation efforts for all other categories. Every species lost diminishes the richness of our world and can have unforeseen consequences for the ecosystems they once inhabited. The stories of extinct animals serve as powerful lessons. They teach us about the consequences of habitat destruction, overexploitation, and the introduction of invasive species. They motivate us to work harder to protect those species still with us, to prevent other names from being added to that sorrowful list. The silence left by an extinct species is a profound call to protect what remains, ensuring other creatures do not meet the same fate. When a species is categorized as critically endangered, it stands on the very brink of extinction in the wild. This is the highest risk category for a species that still has individuals remaining in their natural habitat. The criteria for this designation are severe. For instance, a species might be classified as critically endangered if its population has declined by more than 90% over the last 10 years or 3 generations. Alternatively, it could be if its remaining population size is estimated to be fewer than 50 mature individuals, or if its geographic range is incredibly restricted. Animals like the Amur leopard or the Javan rhino fall into this perilous category, their futures hanging precariously in the balance. The next step down, though still indicating a very serious situation, is endangered. A species is labelled as endangered when it faces a very high risk of extinction in the wild in the near future. The criteria are slightly less extreme than for critically endangered, but still deeply concerning. For example, an endangered species might have experienced a population decline of more than 70% over the last decade or 3 generations. or its population might be fewer than 250 mature individuals. Many iconic animals, such as the giant panda, though its status has improved, tigers and blue whales have been or are in this category, requiring intensive conservation efforts to ensure their survival. For species in both these categories, critically endangered and endangered, time is of the essence. Conservation actions must be swift, targeted, and sustained. These actions often involve a combination of strategies. Protecting and restoring their habitats is crucial, as habitat loss is a primary driver of endangerment. Anti-poaching patrols are vital for species targeted by illegal wildlife trade. Captive breeding programs, followed by reintroduction into safe, wild areas, can offer a lifeline for species with critically low numbers. Engaging local communities in conservation efforts is also key, as their support and involvement are often essential for long-term success. The threats pushing species into these high-risk categories are numerous and often interconnected. Deforestation for agriculture, logging and urban development destroys the places where animals live and find food. Pollution contaminates their water and food sources. Overfishing and overhunting can decimate populations faster than they can recover. Climate change is an emerging and growing threat, altering habitats and disrupting breeding patterns. Understanding these specific threats for each endangered or critically endangered species is the first step towards developing effective plans to pull them back from the edge and secure their place in the natural world for generations to come. Section 5, a warning bell. The vulnerable and near-threatened. The vulnerable category serves as an important warning. Species placed here are considered to be facing a high risk of endangerment in the wild in the medium-term future, unless the circumstances threatening their survival and reproduction improve. While not as immediately perilous as endangered or critically endangered, the vulnerable status indicates significant concern. The criteria might include population decline of more than 50% over 10 years or 3 generations, or a population size estimated to be fewer than 10,000 mature individuals, coupled with a continuing decline. The African elephant, for example, is listed as vulnerable in many regions, facing threats from poaching and habitat loss. Moving to a slightly less alarming yet still cautious category, we find near-threatened. Species are assigned this status when they do not currently qualify for critically endangered, endangered, or vulnerable, but are close to qualifying, or are likely to qualify for a threatened category in the near future if ongoing conservation measures are not maintained. These are species that warrant careful monitoring. Think of them as being on a watch list. Any negative change in their environment or an increase in threats could easily push them into a higher risk category. Keeping an eye on near-threatened species allows for proactive conservation before their situation becomes critical. For both vulnerable and near-threatened species, the key is often preventative action and continuous monitoring. For species designated as vulnerable, conservation efforts might focus on mitigating specific threats such as reducing human-wildlife conflict, protecting key habitats, or regulating trade more effectively. The goal is to halt declines and stabilize populations before they reach the more critical stages of endangerment. Ignoring the plight of vulnerable species can lead to them rapidly deteriorating towards endangered status, making recovery efforts far more difficult and costly. It is a crucial stage where intervention can be highly effective. The near-threatened category in particular highlights the dynamic nature of conservation. A species' status is not fixed. It can change for better or worse depending on the pressures it faces and the actions we take. By identifying species as near-threatened, scientists are essentially flagging them for attention. This allows conservation planners to anticipate potential problems and, where possible, implement measures to prevent them from escalating. It is about being proactive rather than reactive. These categories, vulnerable and near-threatened, are essential components of the early warning system that helps us protect biodiversity before it is too late, ensuring a more secure future for these animals. Section 6, Signs of Stability, Least Concern and Nature's Abundance. At the other end of the conservation spectrum from extinct lies the least concern category. A species is assigned to this category when it has been evaluated against the red list criteria and does not qualify for critically endangered, vulnerable, or near threatened. Widespread and abundant species are typically listed as least concern. This does not mean they face no threats, or that their populations are not declining in some areas. It simply means that at a global level, they are not currently at immediate risk of extinction. Many common birds, insects, and some mammals fall into this category, forming the backbone of healthy ecosystems. While abundant is not an official IUCN Red List category itself, it is a term often used to describe species that are thriving with large, stable populations across extensive ranges. These are often the species we see most frequently: the pigeons in our cities, the squirrels in our parks, or vast schools of certain fish in the oceans. Their success can be due to a variety of factors, including high reproductive rates, adaptability to different environments, or living in areas with fewer human pressures. The existence of abundant species is a positive sign, indicating that some parts of our natural world are still functioning well and supporting a rich diversity of life. However, it is important to remember that even species of least concern require ongoing monitoring. Nature is dynamic, and situations can change. A species that is common today could face new threats tomorrow, such as emerging diseases, rapid habitat changes, or the impacts of climate change. The passenger pigeon was once one of an incredibly abundant bird in North America, yet it became extinct. Therefore, even for species in the least concern category, scientists continue to gather data and reassess their status periodically. This vigilance ensures that any negative trends are detected early, allowing for timely intervention if needed. Furthermore, species of least concern play vital roles in their ecosystems. They are often important food sources for other animals, pollinators of plants, or contributors to nutrient cycling. A decline in a common species can have ripple effects throughout the food web and impact the overall health of the environment. Therefore, maintaining healthy populations of even the most common species is crucial for biodiversity conservation. Their stability provides a foundation upon which more fragile species depend, contributing to the resilience and richness of the entire natural world that we cherish and depend upon. Section 7. The Global Record Keepers, the IUCN and its Red List. The primary organization responsible for assessing the conservation status of species worldwide is the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or IUCN. Founded in 1948, the IUCN is a global authority on the status of the natural world and the measures needed to safeguard it. It brings together governments, non-governmental organizations, scientists, and experts from around the globe, all united by a common mission to conserve biodiversity and ensure that any use of natural resources is equitable and ecologically sustainable. The IUCN's work is vast, but it is perhaps best known for one incredibly important tool: the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. The IUCN Red List is the world's most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of biological species. It is far more than just a list. It is a powerful scientific instrument that assesses the extinction risk of thousands of species, subspecies, varieties, and even selected subpopulations. Using a set of objective, quantitative criteria, the Red List classifies species into the categories we have discussed, from extinct to least concern. This rigorous system ensures that assessments are consistent and comparable across different species and regions, providing a globally recognized standard for understanding wildlife endangerment. It is a critical resource for anyone involved in conservation. Compiling the Red List is a monumental and ongoing collaborative effort. It relies on the expertise of thousands of scientists and specialists organized into IUCN Species Survival Commission (SSC) specialist groups. These groups focus on particular animal or plant groups, such as cats, primates, or orchids. They gather the latest data on population sizes, trends, distribution, and threats. This information is then meticulously evaluated against the IUCN Red List criteria to determine the appropriate conservation status for each species. The process is transparent and peer-reviewed, ensuring the credibility and reliability of the assessments that are produced. The impact of the IUCN Red List is profound. It is used by governments to inform national conservation policies and to identify priorities for action. International agreements such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, and the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES, rely on red list data. Conservation organizations use it to guide their fieldwork and allocate resources. Educators use it to raise awareness about biodiversity loss. In essence, the IUCN Red List provides the essential information needed to understand the challenges facing wildlife and to make informed decisions to protect it, acting as a barometer of life on Earth. Section 8. The Human Element, Guardians of Wildlife Data. Behind every species assessment and every conservation category lies the dedicated work of countless individuals. Field scientists and researchers are often on the front lines, venturing into remote and sometimes challenging environments to study animals in their natural habitats. They meticulously count populations, track movements using GPS collars, observe behaviors, and collect biological samples. This fieldwork can be arduous, requiring patience, resilience, and a deep passion for wildlife. The data they gather forms the bedrock of our understanding of a species' status, providing the raw information that feeds into the IUCN Red List assessment process. Their efforts are truly indispensable. Local communities and indigenous peoples also play an invaluable role. They often possess generations of traditional ecological knowledge about the species and ecosystems in their ancestral lands. They may be the first to notice changes in animal behavior or population numbers. Increasingly, conservation initiatives are recognizing the importance of partnering with these communities, integrating their knowledge with scientific approaches. When local people are involved in monitoring and protecting wildlife, conservation efforts are often more effective and sustainable. Their stewardship is crucial, as they live alongside these animals and have a direct interest in their well-being and the health of their shared environment. Beyond the scientists and local communities, a vast network of conservation organizations, both large international bodies and smaller grassroots groups, contribute significantly. These organizations fund research, manage protected areas, run anti-poaching patrols, conduct public awareness campaigns, and implement species recovery programs. Many also rely on the tireless efforts of volunteers who dedicate their time and skills to various conservation tasks, from habitat restoration to data entry. This collective human effort, driven by a shared concern for the natural world, is what translates the scientific assessments into tangible actions on the ground, making a real difference for threatened species. The entire process, from initial data collection to the final Red List assessment and subsequent conservation action, is a deeply collaborative one. It involves communication and cooperation between scientists, governments, NGOs, local communities, and the public. No single entity can protect global biodiversity alone. It requires a global partnership, sharing information, resources, and expertise. The people involved are united by a common purpose to understand the threats facing wildlife and to work together to ensure that our planet remains a vibrant and diverse home for all its inhabitants, both human and animal, for all the years to come. Section 9. Conclusion. Every category a call to action for our planet. The system of categorizing wild animals from extinct to least concern is far more than an academic exercise. It is a vital tool in the ongoing global effort to understand, protect, and conserve the magnificent biodiversity of our planet. Each category provides a clear, scientifically backed indication of a species' health, enabling us to focus our limited resources where they are most urgently needed. It allows us to track changes over time, to see if our conservation efforts are succeeding or if new threats are causing a species to decline further. This information is fundamental to making wise decisions about how we manage our relationship with the natural world. Indeed, these categories have guided countless conservation success stories. Species that were once on the brink of extinction have been pulled back, their populations stabilized and sometimes even growing thanks to dedicated efforts informed by their Red List status. The Arabian oryx, once extinct in the wild, now roams its desert home again. The black robin of New Zealand, down to just one breeding pair, was saved through intensive management. These triumphs show that with knowledge, commitment, and action, we can make a positive difference. They offer hope and demonstrate the profound importance of the assessment process in guiding these recovery journeys. However, the challenge remains immense. As our world continues to change, with growing human populations and the escalating impacts of climate change, the pressures on wildlife are unlikely to diminish. The IUCN Red List is a dynamic document, constantly being updated as new information becomes available and as the status of species changes. The work of scientists, conservationists, and communities in monitoring and assessing wildlife is more critical than ever. Future assessments will continue to guide our path, highlighting new priorities and reminding us of our ongoing responsibilities as stewards of the Earth's incredible natural heritage. Ultimately, every category, from the sorrow of extinct to the cautious optimism of least concern, is a call to action. It reminds us that the fate of these species is intrinsically linked to our own choices and actions. Protecting biodiversity is not just about saving individual animals. It is about maintaining the health of the ecosystems that sustain all life, including our own. By understanding and respecting these categories and by supporting the efforts to protect the creatures they represent, we can help to ensure that the rich tapestry of life on Earth continues to thrive, a legacy of wonder and vitality for all future generations to cherish and explore.